I asked every question I possibly could have. I prayed as much as I possibly could have. I sought community as much as I possibly could have before I walked down that aisle. That's what gives me peace, because they say confidence, all it is preparation. Yeah. The more you prepare, the more confident you can be. I'm not saying this is easy, but we are saying that you'll be better off if you ask these questions before you even say yes to engagement.
You cannot trust anything that hasn't been tested. You cannot trust a partner or a relationship that hasn't been tested.
What's up, fam? Welcome back to our channel. My name is Tim. This is my beautiful wife, Pauline, and you're tuning into another episode of the W Podcast, where you get wisdom in the word with the
Wheeler.
Hey, so super excited to be with y'all this week. We have an amazing topic, really going through some of the questions you have to ask.
Yes, non-negotiable questions.
Like, you need to ask this before you either propose to a woman, fellas, or ladies, before you say yes. You want to have had these conversations before you get engaged to really feel comfortable and confident in walking down the aisle. And that's the picture I want to paint really quick for people. Because if you're watching this, I'm assuming that they want to one day walk down the aisle if they're a man. I mean, I guess women walk down the aisle too. You want to be able to walk down the aisle knowing that your beautiful future spouse is either already waiting there or they're going to be following down the aisle after you if they're a woman. And you're standing there at that altar when you both meet, looking each other in the eye. I mean, you're so happy with your choice. You think they're beautiful, you think they're handsome, and if you don't think that, you think they're funny. And you're at that altar, excited but nervous. But imagine if you could be at that altar with supreme peace and confidence.
Yes.
Not because they're fine, good looking, or funny, but because you know within yourself that you asked everything that you knew to ask, every question that you could possibly ask to get to know that person, but also get to know yourself better before you got to that aisle. Like, imagine how much peace you could have, because you hear about people who have cold feet, and they're like, oh, I don't know if I should get married. I don't know if I'm ready, or I don't know if this person is who I'm supposed to be with. But imagine if before you even got to the wedding day, through the questions that you asked your partner, through the questions you asked yourself, through the prayer that you had to the Lord, like, Lord, I need you to confirm this now forever, a long time, through the questions that you asked community, imagine how much peace you could have knowing that you did everything you could.
Yeah.
Did you feel that way?
Of course, yeah. And I think since we asked a lot of questions like this, if not some of these exact questions when we were dating and engaged, and, you know, leaning into the hard questions, because if you ask those hard questions now, it's going to avoid a lot of pain later. And not even just the sense of like, oh, are you afraid of marrying the wrong person or waking up 10 years from now, like, what was I thinking? But it's really to protect you so that the enemy cannot try to convince you and like insert doubt into your mind after you get married, so that you have the utmost confidence. Like, no, I'm not worried about his character. No, I'm not worried about his perspective or her perspective on this or that, because we've talked about this. I've seen it. They've said it. Community has confirmed it. Like, I'm like a, what is the term? like a steel door, like anchored, you know, like there.
Okay,
I don't think about the right term right now.
You're not, but that's okay.
I'm not. You know what I'm talking about, though.
Being strong.
Yeah, just being so sure and be confident. Not because you know the best, because obviously you're limited in your knowledge, but it's because you have it's tested. Like, it's a tested character, it's a tested faith, it's a tested relationship.
Yeah.
And you know, a lot of times we stray away from the test because we're like, oh, I'm afraid if I fail. And it's like, hey, if it's weak, if areas of their character are weak, let's find out now. Yeah,
and we're not saying that you're going to go into the wedding day knowing the person 100%, because if they don't even know themselves 100%, because we're all still developing and growing, there's no way you will.
Right.
But the point is, you know them as well as you possibly can. You know that you prepared. And it's so interesting. I don't know if you're watching this and you love basketball. I hope you do, because it's amazing. But my favorite player was Kobe Bryant. And will always be Kobe Bryant. I don't care whoever plays again. Kobe was my favorite player. And I remember, babe, before he retired, or as he was leading up to that, people were getting nervous. Like, how's he gonna handle retirement?
Yeah.
Because the stories about Kobe are legendary as far as his commitment to working out, his commitment to basketball. He was 100% in on basketball.
Mamba mentality.
Exactly, and people were concerned like, yo, when basketball's over, is
okay?
he gonna like be able to function?
That's all he knew for his whole life.
Exactly, and he played 20 years, so he played. But when he retired, more of his life was in the NBA than
which
it wasn't.
Is a very intense lifestyle.
And the interesting thing was, after he retired, people were shocked months, years later, that he was thriving. And they were like, yo, Kobe, like, why are you doing so well? And he would always say, because I gave every ounce that I had in me to prepare the best I could, to play the best I could. He knew that he left nothing on the table when it came to being the best basketball player possible. And I feel like when it comes to marriage, we can have that same peace knowing I asked every question I possibly could have. I prayed as much as I possibly could have. I sought community as much as I possibly could have before I walked down that aisle. That's what gives me peace, because they say confidence, all it is preparation.
Yeah.
The more you prepare, the more confident you can be. Kobe would say that. If we're going back to basketball, talking about why are you so confident and calm
so much
to shoot the last shot? He's like, because I've done it 1,000 times in practice.
Yeah, that's so good. And like that even shows, I love that analogy going into marriage, how if you're not confident, and that's why people often say, you guys will hear us say like, hey, if you can, you should try your best to date for at least 12 months, that you could have that entire year, that whole one trip around the sun, to see the person you're with in all these various situations, see what they're like during Christmas time, see what they're like when they're sad, when they're happy, when they're sick, when, they run out of money, whenever, all these different, it's good to see them in those different areas so that you know that you can trust them because you've seen them. And then, the Bible is time and time again, the Lord has spoken to us and shows us all these stories of like stewardship. And even I'm thinking about David and Goliath, like before David, defeated and killed Goliath, he killed lions and bears before that. And would he be ready?
Stay right there, because this is why it's really important. When you get into your first year of marriage and you have an argument, your first argument in marriage, people can look at you and be like, why aren't you concerned about how this is going to work out? Because we've had arguments in dating that we got through. We learned how to settle conflict. We learned how one another ticks and what to not say and what to say. Yeah, totally. So I'm confident that we can get through this in dating.
Yeah, absolutely.
in marriage.
Yeah, so it's important to test. You cannot trust anything that hasn't been tested. You cannot trust a partner or a relationship that hasn't been tested. So these questions that we're going to get into, these 9 questions that we've been just dangling and kind of hinting at for a while, which we haven't got into yet, will help you test your relationship before you get into engagement. Because a lot of times people feel like, engagement, it's all about the wedding and what colors are we going to choose and registry items and all those really fun things that we want you guys to enjoy. But don't ignore the hard work too. Don't skip over it. And a lot of times people are waiting for the hard work to find them. No, you go pursue the hard work. Over here on the W Podcast, we do hard things because the Lord empowers us to do so.
So what's the first question? Let's just jump right into it.
All right, so the first question is, am I staying because I'm at peace or because I'm afraid to start over?
That's a deep question.
Yeah.
And I think this is a question you can't just rush through.
Yeah.
Unless you're confident and you know that, hey, I've already done all of this. I've already asked all the questions, so that's why I'm at peace. But if you haven't even asked these questions yet, you shouldn't just be like, oh yeah, like I know I'm marrying this person because I'm at peace. It's because how do you know that?
And what I love about these questions, these are things that you're asking of yourself. We've talked about on this podcast before, questions you should be asking, your partner or somebody that you're dating or somebody that you're talking to. And those are good to have too, because oftentimes you want to put another person in the hot seat. But now it's your turn to put yourself in the hot seat. Ask yourself these questions, write these down in your journal. Obviously talk to the Lord about these questions, mentors, friends, things like that. But yeah, this is really important because fear clings to familiarity. It's very easy to stick with what you know. There's so many people, and it breaks my heart, who stay in relationships because it's what they know. Oh, we've been together for 3 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, 20 years. And it's like, so, like, is this everything that you wanted it to be? But, like, these are the same people who are constantly complaining about their partner, constantly complaining about their relationship. And I'm not talking about marriage. If you're married 20 years, you're going to work that out. But if you're just with somebody because they're your high school sweetheart, they've all that you've known, I don't want to start over. Like, yeah, it is crazy to start over. The dating pool is awful. I don't want to start over again. That whole thing. That's... God has more for you.
And you're human if you feel that way.
Yeah.
Just like if you're like, I don't want to start over, like I get it. I wouldn't want to start over either. So
yeah,
you're not a bad person for that, but that cannot be the reason why you're getting married, because not even that you would get a divorce, but you would just have a miserable marriage, because eventually you're going to get to a situation that reminds you of how unsure you were that this person really is good for you, but you're going to be so upset because you're going to feel like you're locked in. Or if you believe in divorce, you're going to feel like, well, this is going to change everything I thought my life would be, and you don't want to do that. One of the ways you can know, like, how do I know if I have peace about this person? One of the ways is if you're going back and forth of, like, one day you're like, yeah, this person is great. The next day you're like, I really don't like this area of their life. Like, there's something about their work ethic.
Handle this,
There's something about their character that, like, really makes me feel unsettled. And we're not talking about superficial things like they're 5'2" or whatever, but just like,
hopefully that's the girl.
Her character is like really.
It's like, no, you're a 5'2" guy.
Come on, yeah. All the short kings, we love y'all, man. God made y'all that.
That's hyper short. That's
baby, leave them alone. So, hopefully that makes sense. Like, you shouldn't be being double-minded about is this person even good for you, period.
Yeah, the Bible talks about that, that we shouldn't be going back and forth, and that whatever is from God, blessings from the Lord, do not steal our peace. But it can be very easy to do that. So, number 2, you want to ask yourself the second question. If I was starting from scratch today, would I still choose them?
What does that mean to you?
So this is very similar to question 1 in a way of, like, given everything that I know about this person, and obviously it can be tough because if you are a year into dating, obviously you know them more and better, hopefully, depending on how the quality of your relationship is to this point. Because everyone starts to talk about engagement at different stages, depending on your age and just a lot of different things. So it's more about, like, if I was starting over, a lot of times I think this question is more about, like, who you are when you met the person. So sometimes if you're in college, and, like, again, back to the high school example, if you met the person that you were with in high school, and it's kind of like, hey, I was very insecure about myself when I was 15, he or she took interest in me, we both were insecure, trauma bonding, we both got bullied, whatever, we kind of just, like, hooked up together and, like, stayed together and supported each other through these hard times, and now we've grown up together, and now neither one of us kind of looked at any other opportunity, and then you're looking up, and now it's 10 years later, you're 25, you have an amazing job, you're very proud of your accomplishments, you have your master's degree, you love God, all these different things. Like, you're a completely different person than you were when you were 15, and maybe as a 25-year-old, you wouldn't be with him or her, and you kind of just feel like, oh, I've just dragged this person through my life because I didn't feel like having a hard conversation, or it was kind of like, it's like a security blanket. And, like, I don't know if you guys had one of these. I feel like I had a teddy bear that I loved when I was younger, but a lot of people have security blankets. I mean, even now you probably have your favorite pillow, or, like, your favorite pajamas, or your favorite blanket that you sleep. It just makes you feel safe, and we can turn people into security blankets, or, like, our kind of stuffies or stuffed animals, where they just make us feel safe and warm. It's something that we know when we're going through hard times of, like, big transition. Obviously, 15 to 25 years old, a lot of transitions are happening in your life. And even people do this with friends too. Like, you hold on to friends because they feel safe for you as your life is constantly changing. But yeah, if you're not the same person you are now than you were when you met them, it's like, would 25-year-old you choose them as he's a 25-year-old? Because he's probably different than when he was when he was 15 too.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I think, zoom out of that, if you're listening to this and you're like, well, I'm 35 and I just met this person last year, I think this still applies, because a lot can happen in a year, 2 years, however long you've been dating. Like, it could be on a spiritual tip. Like, maybe when you started dating this person, you were lukewarm.
Yeah.
And that person was lukewarm. Mm-hmm. And that was okay. And you've kind of gotten a lot more serious in your faith with the Lord, but the person you're dating hasn't. If you were to start from scratch, being the person that's on fire for God now, would you still be dating this person who's lukewarm? the answer is probably no. And so then that's when you start having those real conversations.
Yeah.
So I love that point of like the person that you are today, no matter how long y'all been dating, would you still move forward with this person?
Yeah, and it's beautiful because, you know, you are allowed to change. You should be changing and growing. And like, it's obviously a testament. Of course, there are couples who've been together since they were in high school and they've both grown at the same pace in the same area. It's obviously harder to do, but it's possible. But a lot of times you can say like, wow, and this entire episode, and hopefully every single episode of ours that you guys watch, you walk away feeling more confident and more clear, where it's like, hey, this is more clear to me that I shouldn't be with this person, or it's more clear to me like, hey, I should be. Like, God has really put us together. This is really a miracle and a blessing. So yeah, that's that one. That's number 2. Number 3 is, do I feel closer to God in this relationship, or do I feel more confused about his voice?
Yeah, and that may sound super spiritual, but it's important in the sense that if this person, forget about the last part, like, am I more confused about his voice? Like, but just, do I feel closer to God being in this relationship? Like, the person you're with should be helping you grow in every area of your life.
Yeah.
If you want to marry them, like, you shouldn't marry somebody who's pulling you back in any area. So when it comes to your relationship with God, like, have they helped you pray more? Have they helped you want to learn about your word more? Have they helped you where situations, maybe you got in arguments and it's caused you to go to the Lord in prayer for yourself, like, Lord, I didn't know I could react like that.
Yeah.
And that's driving you to the Lord. Or on the flip side, you have arguments and it's driving you to other things, whether it be drugs or alcohol or entertainment, whatever. That's not a good sign. And also, if you were on fire for the Lord before you got with this person, and now you barely go to church, that's another red flag. Or if you were lukewarm when you started dating them and now you surprised you even watching this video. Like, that's something that you really want to evaluate.
Yeah, absolutely. Because again,
do you feel like you got closer to God dating me?
Absolutely. I mean, I was put in a lot of difficult situations. I think I definitely leaned more into godly counsel with us being together. And, excuse me, I think that the Lord, set that up very well. So I'm very grateful for that. But yeah, like going to godly counsel more, leaning on God's word more for sure to confirm things, like the verse that he shared with me before we got together. And like, it definitely wasn't my preference, but it wasn't if God didn't put, counsel in my life and like mentors, big brothers, big sisters to talk to about certain things, about us being together, we definitely would not be together. And even like, certain things that I would talk to you about that I was going through, you were always like, yeah, just pray, like talk to the Lord about it. I feel like if in the past I had friends who were like, oh, this isn't making sense, like you should do this, you do that, and you were kind of like, yeah, no, it doesn't really mean that God's not leading you to do this or that, he just may have you wait. So even like the conversations and like the advice that you gave me was like, talk to God, like, what does his word say about it? And you just made me feel a lot more peaceful about things and less anxious.
Yeah, that's good. What's the 4th one?
Number 4 is, have I been honest with my mentors about my doubts? And this is big because you have to first admit that you have doubts. And I don't think that a lot of couples that we talk to, we love you guys, a lot of them will say like, oh yeah, like we're 110% sure, like, we have no issues. And it's like, you're just blind. And like, it's okay because you feel like you have to perform at a certain, stage of like, and I so much respect the couples who will say, I'm not 100% sure. And not because my partner is like sinful or like mean or anything like a super red flag. It's because I don't trust myself. It's because I've made mistakes in relationships in the past, or because I know that like, my decision making is not that great. Like it's a very humble kind of disposition or heart. And also just knowing like that's not how faith works. Faith is not 100% anything. It's like 51%, 60%, 70%. I'm like, God, I think this is what you're telling me to do, but like I really surrender and give this to you. So I think that if you are sitting here and you're thinking like, oh yeah, I'm not like 1,000% sure this is the person I want to marry, I would slow down. And like, not because I don't think that God wants you to marry the person that you're with. That's not the case at all. It's because you're a human. Like, you are not going to feel 100% about anybody. And you shouldn't. Just think about it like last time you took a job. You probably prayed about it. Lord, is this a job you want me to have? Is this what you want me to do? You talked to counsel. Yeah, that sounds like a great job. go forth and take it. But you're probably in the back of your mind thinking like, this could go badly because it's new. And there's always a possibility of things going badly. And I think that like the Lord wants us to have that mindset going into marriage as well, so that we lean on him, so that we don't go into marriage and then we think our spouse is perfect and 100%. And then the first time we have an argument, the first time they leave their dirty socks on the floor, you're like, oh, how could you? Like, who did I marry? Like, I feel like you tricked me. And it's like, yeah, I knew that, this was going to happen. It's okay. Not like it's okay, but like, I know what to do. I'm not shocked or shook by this.
And I would say, even if you're 1,000% sure, like, yes, this is the person that I need to be with, share that with your mentor too, because sometimes we can be too confident in ourselves. And this is why it's good to have other people who can look from the outside in and be like, the way you're saying this is not reality. Or actually, you're halfway right, but look at it from this perspective. Like, maybe there's questions or things that you need to look at. So like sometimes they can help us be a little more humble too, so that we can go into marriage on kind of an even footing and clarity. So what's the fifth one?
Am I settling in areas I swore I'd never settle in?
What's some examples of that?
So I think when people talk about like so obviously there's 1,000,005 ways somebody can settle, right? And like really settling is going less than what you say that you want. If we think about what's settling, it's kind of, hey, I'm just gonna make a decision and move forward. A lot of areas we don't care about you guys settling in, like perhaps like someone's job function and like their vocation.
Or what about like if they wanted a 10, but the person's like an 8?
But that's also a discretionary thing. Like,
but still, I bring it up because I could see somebody lumping this into this point.
Yeah.
Of like, I swear I would never date nobody less than a 9.
Right, but also you're a 9 and somebody else is 10. So it's like, I think it has to be more concrete than that. Like, oh, I never said that I was going to marry somebody who doesn't go to church. And here I am dating somebody who can't even spell Jesus. And it's like, okay, this is when like, your friends come in, your godly counsel comes in, but it's usually your friends who you're telling, oh, this is my list and this is what I want and all that stuff. And they're letting you know like, hey, you said that you wanted this. He's not that. She's not that.
Yeah. I would say this point is more about values and less about lists. So when we're talking about settling, it's more about what you valued in character and other areas, and less about what list you had as far as how much money they make.
Right, and that's what I was thinking towards too. Is like, it's not about you checking off all the boxes of your list, and you should always, it's okay to have lists. Just submit them to the Lord and write them in pencil, as people say, because it's going to change, and a lot of things don't matter on a list. But yeah, it's more about like the person's value in their character and how they treat you, how they treat other people, what they think about, and how they treat God is going to be, of course, the most important. That's going to flow how they treat you and treat others and treat themselves. So you have to, number one, like be able to document, what did you say? What did you say you wanted? What did you say, was God's best for you and that you were going after? And, your friends can obviously help you with that too. But if you're feeling a lot of pressure of like, oh, I'm getting older and, maybe I don't need somebody who like loves God as much as I do. I can teach our kids about God. And, it's like, just really, what are we doing here? So if you're feeling that type of pressure from your family of like, usually it's like your age, or like, oh, maybe I was too picky in the past and I need to kind of be more gracious, with my standards. And it's like, yeah, maybe you do, but on certain things, on like superficial things that are going to change no matter what, like someone's vocation, how much money they make, kind of car they drive, things like that really don't matter. But when it comes to their character, like you should never let up on that. Like if you always said, I wanted to marry somebody who loves my mom and has a good relationship with my mom, I don't think that that's something that you should settle with. If your mom is, your best friend and somebody you really respect.
For sure. Number 6, I think is going to be a good one. What's that?
Number 6 is, have we grown through conflict or just survived it?
The reason why I felt like this is going to be really important and a good question to ask yourself is because it's easy to survive conflict. Very Meaning, you had conflict, you never really resolved it, or the way you resolved it was by just shoving it under the rug. and it doesn't come up anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But you all never got to a place where you felt like you were moving forward together in that area. And the reason why that's dangerous is because in marriage, what that will look like is, oh, we had conflict about money and how we spend money. So now we just have separate bank accounts because we don't know how to handle conflict and learn how to move forward together in the agreed vision. So we'll just keep it separate. And that way we don't argue about it. And then you hear couples say, well, it just works for us.
Right, it's
like,
dysfunctional.
That works for us. And it's like, no, it doesn't really work for you, because if it was working for you, you would learn how to be able to grow closer together in unity as one.
Apart. Yeah.
When you're married, you're one. So there really shouldn't be anything that's separate, or we don't talk about it, or that's just something that we leave there, because they say in life there's no such thing as stagnant. Like something's either growing or dying.
Yeah.
So remember that when you're in your relationship, if you're just sweeping stuff under the rug, eventually it's going to come up. If you think about it, literally, like a rug, the more stuff you put in it, the higher the rug's going to get. And eventually it's just everything's going to fall out. And that happens in relationships. You just stuff. We don't argue. And it's like, all right, you just
the closet.
stuffing stuff. And then you get 7 years into marriage and you're like, I don't like this person. And it's because you never learned how to communicate when things happen that you didn't like.
Right.
So now you don't like them at all.
Right. And it's kind of like you're skipping steps. Like if this is a video game, you can't move on to level 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 if you cheated your whole way through level 1 by, not learning the skills, not learning how to actually conquer the challenges in there, because like life is going to continue. It's only going to get harder. Marriage is only going to get harder. Not because marriage is hard, but because life is hard. Like you're having kids. There's more opportunity for just like hard things happening, grief, job loss, sickness, all those things are a natural part of life. And it's only going to introduce more opportunities for you guys to either work together and go closer together or grow further apart. And I think it's tough because culturally we're taught that conflict resolution equals solution. So if we have a conflict and we have a problem, you want to buy this house, I want to buy that house, well, let's find a house and compromise. And I honestly hate the word compromise, which maybe I shouldn't hate it, but like, because it has its place. But I think it kind of teaches us to meet in the middle of like, okay, well, if I can't have what I want, you can't have what you want. We're both going to get something that is like an alternative. And there is, a time for that, where it's not my way or your way, it's our way. But I also think that we have to learn that conflict is not about a solution. So for the example you gave about, the bank accounts. Oh, well, we fight about money too much. Let's solve this problem by let's just not talk about it at all, or let's just get separate bank accounts. That's not an actual solution. We found a way to avoid the problem and avoid the conflict because you think conflict is the problem. Well, really the real issue is that we have different beliefs about money. And that is not getting solved if we separate, our accounts. And that can happen so much with kids. Oh, you don't want to take the kids to this church. I want to take them to that church, so I'll just take them on first and second. You take them on third and fourth, and that's the solution. That's not a solution, because you have to think about it long term. Where does this lead us? Long term, how does this help us? But we have to remember that conflict is not about finding a solution. It's about walking hand in hand. It's about unity. It's about how can I be closer to my spouse, and for you guys, how can I be closer? How can I learn more about my partner? How can I get inside their head and think about what's important to them and why? And a lot of times that's scary. It's vulnerable because you have to put your own needs aside just for a moment to try to sit in their shoes and like, okay, you think this is important. I don't understand. I think something else is important. So how can I come into your world, see things the way that you do? And what will help you guys with that is coming back to like, what are they afraid of? What is my partner afraid of? He wants to do something a certain way. It's trying to protect what? And kind of get to the root of things rather than making sure you get your way and finding a solution to the actual problem. And we say this all the time on this podcast, that a lot of times conflict is not about what you're actually fighting about. It's about a deeper fear or dream that is, held by you or by your partner.
Yeah, I really hope you did not miss what Pauline just said, because the beliefs thing is, we can't overstate that enough, because that can show up in any area, not just money. That can show up in what type of house you have, what church you go to, any area, what you eat, like what your belief is going to dictate where you're going. And so many people later in their marriage, they're not happy, they're frustrated, and they're wondering, like, I can't believe how we got here. And it's because you never believed about a specific area in the same way that your partner did, and you never learned how to believe that area together and walk as one. So if there's an area where you don't agree in dating, this is a great time to really take a step back and be like, if we cannot agree on this, is it worth getting married? And I know that's a heavy question, but it's better to break up before you get married than it is to get a divorce and you've been married for 10 years and things are just messy even more so. So we're really trying to get you to ask the hard questions. We know it's hard. We're not saying this is easy, but we are saying that you'll be better off if you ask these questions before you even say yes to engagement.
Yeah.
Number 7, I feel like it's kind of the same thing. Are we maturing or just managing dysfunctions is something that you want to think about. Like, am I maturing with this person, or are we both still dysfunctional in our own ways and we haven't grown at all? Anything you want to add to that, or you feel like it's kind of the same as 6 and we can move to?
Yeah, it's it's very similar. I will say with this one, it's another opportunity to ask for feedback from people who are close to you. Better if people knew you before you got in this relationship. So always your parents and your siblings, family, depending on how long you guys have been together. But just asking them, like, how much have I grown, with this person? How have I changed? And they'll be able to say, oh, yeah, you got so much better with your money. Your car is cleaner since you got with her.
I have an example I can share. So when we were dating, especially when we first started dating, conflict was not a thing that I liked. I tried to avoid conflict at all costs because my view of conflict was not accurate, not realizing that conflict is just a tool to help you move closer together and further down the field together. I thought conflict was something that pulled you apart because my parents got divorced when I was very young. So I think that just warped my mind of and also just conflict growing up, the way some things were handled wasn't always the best. So I was just like, conflict, let's just chill. Like, why do we need to have conflict? Yeah, just chill. We good.
You sound like your little brother right now.
Just chill. Which one?
The littlest brother. Your littlest brother.
I love all my brothers. Chill. So it's interesting because in this situation when we were dating, we had a major conflict that came up. And I think I had 2 options. Either I was going to grow and learn how to have conflict and lean into the pain and have the hard conversation, or I would have shoved it under the rug, and I'm sure we wouldn't be sitting right here doing this podcast together. We would have broken up a long time ago. And I think that's the point right here, number 7. Are we maturing?
Yeah.
I matured in how I thought about conflict. I matured in how I handled conflict, and it allowed me to no longer be dysfunctional and just shoving stuff under the rug, because that was me for a lot of things. And on the flip side, maybe not with the situation that I'm talking about, but just in general, you've told me all the time how us being together has helped you realize you don't always need to respond to certain things.
Oh, 100%, 110%. And I was thinking about that recently with how, because you guys know I'm very chatty, I'm an external processor. I think when I talk, I cannot really think without talking. So if I need to work through something, I have to talk it out. And that is good and fine and well. And I love to journal. Jesus and me, we talk a lot. But one thing that I've learned, my mom used to always tell me, because when I was growing up, I was always getting feedback on my report card, oh yeah, Pauline's great, but she's a little too talkative.
You was a bad kid?
No. They're just saying I was very talkative in class, and I would need to talk less. And not in the sense I'm raising my hand, but it's when I'm talking to my peers.
Yeah, you distracted me. I'm trying to focus.
Anyway, I couldn't help it. So anyway, I've learned a lot because you're pretty much the polar opposite in that way, where it doesn't always serve me, and it's taken me a while because I'm a little hard-headed to realize I don't always have to have the last word in things. So there's so much power in silence, and you can send a message a lot of times without talking and without responding. Not everything has to be, kind of said, and like not everybody needs to know what I'm thinking, and sometimes my thoughts betray me. So I've definitely matured in that way and thinking like, okay, you know what? I don't always have to tell people what's on my mind, give people a piece of my mind. Not even like an anger type of way, just more of like, I want you to know that this is what I think, and like, this is how I feel about things. And it's like, oh, think about it this way. Like, you would have told me like, hey, you've tried that approach before. How did that work for you? And like you wanted to tell your dad this, you wanted to tell your mom that, and it didn't work. It didn't end up the way that you wanted it to end up. So like maybe next time try a different approach. And I was like, no, but I need that. But over time, we've been together almost 10 years. I've learned that like it's a good thing to be quiet.
Yeah. So what's the 8th point?
Number 8 is, am I marrying their reality or my fantasy of who they might become? Hope is not a strategy. And this is hard because there's this constant kind of balance and tension of like potential and having space for people to grow, and like not marrying a finished product, or like that whole thing, because no one's ever done, of course, growing and learning and changing. And I think for me, what has helped a lot is like, not so much because, when I met you, we started dating, you were in college. So, like, talk about potential. Talk about, being able to, like...
You was broke.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You were, but that's not what I'm talking about. I was too, but... not being able to like be fixated on somebody's potential of like, oh, well, I'm with someone because he's in medical school and one day he's going to grow up and make all this money, and she is really smart and she's going to be a doctor or whatever the case is. And it's like, yeah, that's good if you believe in somebody's dreams and you want to support them. But also, I think what has helped me get away from that, like, you can appreciate those things and you should consider those things of like what someone's goals are and what their dreams are. But I think what is more important is prioritizing that person's heart. What's important to them? Of course you want to be a doctor. Of course you want to be, insert whatever your career aspirations are. But if you don't get to be that thing, and even who are you outside of that thing? Because your potential of being, a pastor or an author or whatever it is that you want to do in your life. And like, people are always, I'm building a business, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And that's great. Like, do those things. But also like your identity or your value in that person cannot be like wrapped up in that. And you still need to enjoy who they are outside of that. Like, because there are a lot of people who are amazing doctors, amazing lawyers, have incredible businesses and careers, and they're crap spouses. And like, just because someone makes a lot of money or they're living a life like celebrities, all that stuff, their marriages are, historically trash. They have a very high divorce rate in Hollywood. It's not about your outside life. It's about your home life. That's what you're marrying. That's what your kind of legacy is going to be birthed from. Because you want to feel safe at home. And like, there are so many people, of course, who make a lot of money and have high potential and great ideas and all that stuff, and they're really depressed and they're not, they don't feel fulfilled and purposeful. And that's just important to keep in mind.
Yeah, like if you could only talk to them for the rest of your life, would that excite you?
Yeah.
Like, or would you be scared or annoyed or like, I don't want to talk to them? Because a lot of times, like you said, you should look for what are their goals, what are their aspirations, and then what are they doing right now in this moment to pursue those things. Because if they say, I want to be anything, a doctor, a lawyer, a rapper, but their actions today are not actually helping them do that. Like, they're not writing verses every day. They're not studying how to climb up the streaming charts. Like, they're not doing anything to help them be a better rapper. That's not somebody you want to be with. But even more than that, like Pauline was saying, somebody could be on the right path. Like, they say they want to be a doctor. They're in medical school. Their grades are amazing. They have the right internships or whatever the right word is called, residencies. And that looks great. But if you don't like talking to them, if you don't have fun around them, that what they're doing to pursue is not really important, because that can change at any moment. Like, life is real. People can get sick. People can change as far as what they want their career to be, or something we don't talk about a lot, the Lord can say, hey, I know you just spent 8 years going through to get your doctorate,
so real,
but I actually want you to be in ministry full time, or I want you to do this. Now, what are you going to do? Because
Right.
if everything you wanted was wrapped up in their occupation
Yeah.
and the Lord just switched that thing on them, how are you going to handle that? Or are you good because you know what? This is my rider no matter what. This is my
Yeah.
person I can talk to no matter what. I don't care what you do.
Right.
I got you. And I got your thoughts. You got your charm.
Your character.
Everything is there that I married you for, not necessarily what you do. That's the reality. The reality is that I love Pauline because she's funny. The reality is that she loves the Lord. The reality is that she's loyal. All of those things are not going to change no matter what the Lord asks her to do.
You forgot.
Beautiful?
Yes.
That goes without saying. You feel me?
But it so much reminds me of that Tyler Perry movie. This is Diary of a Mad Black Woman where like he leaves her for somebody younger and he's like this big executive, has this great business, and then he gets hurt and he's in a wheelchair, and then his like the girl he left his wife for leaves him because she's like, oh, this is not a cash cow like I thought it was, and he tries to call her back like, and she was like, I was loyal to you, and she pushed him in the bathtub or whatever. He's all in the bathtub. Yeah, don't do loyal women bad, but maybe don't do loyal men bad either, because obviously like you do those purpose conversations are important of like, hey, do our like purposes align up? But a lot of times like you can fulfill your purpose that God has for you in different ways, and like it's gonna be a switch up, but yeah, just like you said, life happens, and like there's gonna be certain times where like people are sick, and if you are not able to do certain things that you guys planned, because sometimes we get too caught up in like, oh, let's build an empire together and let's do this and build a business and like take over the world. And like, yes, do those things if God's called you to do those things, but also you need to be marrying them more for their character.
Yeah. Number 9 is
the last one.
If this relationship fell apart tomorrow, could I say I honored God?
Yeah, that's a heavy hitter. Because a lot of times I like this question because it calls you out. It calls you out and it calls you in, because it can be very easy to think everything we've done, everything I've done that wasn't the best, if we slept together, if we lived together, if we made some mistakes, it's okay because we're going to get married. And like our marriage itself is gonna like redeem everything that we did. Like it's okay, we got married. And it's like, well, that's not really how it works. And we're talking about this offline a few days ago of like, if you got married, great, but your dating relationship follows you into marriage. You're not married until you're married, until the marriage license is signed, of course, and that's when you get to do married people things and you have like the blessing and honor from the Lord. But if you're a woman, and maybe some guys understand this too, but like your dating relationship is basically your marriage pregnant. It matters. Like a fetus is a baby while it's in the womb, but it's not born until its birthday. Like your birthday is like your wedding day. That's the day you officially, become a couple in the eyes of the Lord. But it's important when a woman is pregnant, and I was pregnant with our sons, that I protected them. I couldn't just do whatever I wanted to do. I couldn't eat whatever I wanted to eat. How they moved, I felt it. Like all these things they were alive inside of me, even though they were not born yet, and they were highly dependent on me. But you have to think of your dating relationship in the same way of like, I can't just do whatever I want when I'm dating, and then when I get married, it's okay.
Well, just to further drive that point home, you think about mothers who smoke crack, or do things that are bad. When the baby comes out, the baby's addicted to crack. The baby has issues that could affect them for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
We don't think about dating, that the decisions I'm making in dating can affect my marriage, good or bad, for the rest of my life.
Good. That's so good. And it makes me like even teary thinking about that, because I've seen videos of those babies who, they come out and they're so sick and they're so sad and upset because they're used to something that was so poisonous and so harmful to them. And some of us do that to our marriages. We're used to sex outside of marriage. And then when we get married, sex in marriage is not exciting anymore.
It's boring.
Yeah. And like you go outside to look, you've trained your body and your mind to want something that it's not supposed to have. And, that's why it's really not casual, you guys, to live together and have sex and do sexual things before you are married. And it does hurt you in the long run. And then a lot of times people do that and then they're married for several years and they say, oh, well, doing it God's way doesn't work. We got married and it didn't work for us. And it's like, well, what was your dating relationship like? And We were literally saying this the other day, or I was saying it, of like, you know, we're here for dating couples. We know a lot of you guys listening are single, and that's fine. And it's hopefully preparing you to have a great dating relationship. But really, we're in the business of slashing the divorce rate. Like, we want you guys to have a great marriage. And so many people do not have great marriages because they didn't date well. And then they wonder, well, why isn't this marriage thing working for me? Because the dating thing is messed up. And we already know that the enemy attacks things in its infancy. And he does that to children and culture. He tries to kill children, hurt children. We see that in a lot of ways I won't even get into because it's too much. But it's the same thing with your dating relationship. Like, you have to protect it. You have to treat it like a precious little baby. You wouldn't just, you know, be so haphazard with a pregnant woman because she's carrying something precious. And you have to think about your dating relationship in the same way. That, like, you are carrying something precious. You are carrying something that needs to be protected. And then when it's born, it'll be even stronger. So don't be casual, and honor God when you're dating. And if you are doing things that you shouldn't be doing, stop and ask for help, get support, because it will matter. And like, sometimes when people stop having sex and they stop doing ungodly things when they're dating, they realize there's not much substance to this relationship. And that's a good time to stop dating.
Yeah, absolutely. So remember, y'all, a broken engagement is going to be painful. Like, I'm not even going to sit here and lie to you. A breakup before you get engaged is painful.
Yeah.
But one, it does not have to be damaging if you do it well, and if you weren't doing stuff that you weren't supposed to do before you even got to the breakup. But marrying the wrong person is way more destructive. And we just want you to remember that asking the hard questions right now to yourself and to your partner is worth it 100%. Because like we said in the beginning, going back to Kobe, you can have so much peace knowing that you gave everything you had to the relationship, whether it works out or not. And you can know that the reason this ended is because I was wise.
Yeah. So
and
good.
I asked the right questions to avoid heartbreak in the future. So really, my future self is thanking me now, like, yo, thank you, bro, because I was like looking at you like, what are you doing?
Because there's no hiding in marriage, y'all. So whatever you're like turning a blind eye to and dating, like, oh, I just want to get down the aisle, I just want to get married, you're gonna regret it later.
Yeah, and I don't know if you're watching this, you may not want to break up with the person, but you may feel like the Lord is telling you, hey, this person you're with is not who I have for you. And I've been there. I've had situations or a situation where the Lord told me to break up with somebody. And it can be confusing. It can be like, why? But just remember this, Proverbs 3:5-6 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. The Lord obviously can see the future, and he can see things that you can't see right now that he's trying to protect you from. So I just wanted to call it out for somebody who may be wrestling and you probably should end the relationship, but you don't want to. Don't lean on your own understanding because it doesn't show you the full picture.
Yeah, so good.
So we hope this was helpful. We are here for you all. If you're like, I'm struggling, let us know in the comments. Like, we would love to pray for you and walk through this with you. And then also, if you're dating and in a relationship right now and you live in the DMV and you'd be interested in getting around some other dating couples, like, send us a DM on Instagram. Let us know. We would just love to see like how many people actually are looking for community. This has been another episode of the W Podcast. We'll see y'all next week.
Bye.
Thanks for watching this video.
To get more Christian relationship advice, subscribe to our channel.
And make sure you check out our other videos as well.